Welcome to Milan Puskar Stadium in Morgantown, West Virginia, where the Wildcats secured a 48-31 victory on Saturday afternoon as they took down the Mountaineers to improve to 8-3 on the season. And the Cats, they now sit at 5-2 in Big 12 play. And for K-State, again, it came off the back of Will Howard, who threw the ball all over the place today. He even rebounded from an early mistake, a pick six that could have tied the game at 14, but West Virginia, that was one of their 2 PAT misses on the day. West Virginia was a special teams nightmare. They gave up big returns to the Cats, who constantly had the ball beyond the 25-yard line. They missed 2 extra points. They failed 2 two-point conversions, and they had a brutally awful miss of a field goal. And the K-State defense did enough at times. They struggled in the first half, but they were able to ultimately put enough together. Sincere Mason ends up with a pick 6 in the game. So there were a lot of things that led to what ends up being a very nice win for K-State. I think a lot of people wouldn't sum this up as a pretty game for them and a not so good one, but if the result is still a 17-point road victory in Morgantown, you'll definitely take it. Couple of notes on the game. The 28 points is the most that K-State has scored in the first quarter since 2015, when they scored 28 in Lawrence against Kansas, who happens to be their opponent next week. And then on top of that, we know about the injury that happened last week to Kobe Savage. Now also some concern there with Sincere Mason, who after the pick 6 came in a little bit, was dinged up, went to the medical tent, and then ended up ultimately having to leave the game. So his status is up in the air. We'll ultimately see what ends up happening, but a lot of things to be decided from the K-State defense, and I think it's more a blip on the radar. I don't think this is what they're going to be the rest of the year. They had to prepare for both Garrett Green and JT Daniels. They clearly thought that if Green was the guy, which it ended up being the case, that it was going to be a very run-heavy game from West Virginia, and they kind of surprised K-State. They got out there, threw the ball a lot more early on. It took guys like Drake Cheatham and Josh Hayes by surprise, so not the best of days for the secondary for K-State's defense, but up front, Daniel Green was great in the linebacker spot. You go in front of him to the defensive line. Brendan Mott was really good, had 3 sacks today. That ties Felix Anyudike-Uzomah and Khalid Duke for their totals that they had in the Texas Tech game this year. And it feels like Felix Anyudike-Uzomah started to get a little bit more pressure. Now, he did get the 1 penalty, which he didn't hear the whistle, so it is what it is. Offensively, K-State made things happen. Malik Knowles was great again today. Ben Sinnott continues to be very impressive, and Will Howard bounced back from the turnover. Just a little aggressive, tried fitting the ball into a space that really wasn't there. So not too many concerns for K-State coming out of this game. The only one might be a little bit of an odd day for Deuce Vaughn. Seemed like he didn't get as loose as he normally does. Part of that is due to how talented the West Virginia front is. So we'll see what it looks like next week, because Kansas is currently getting torched by Bijan Robinson in Texas. So you would figure that K-State's Deuce Vaughn and DJ Giddens, with a 49-yard touchdown today, will have the opportunity to run wild on the Jayhawks next week at Bill Snyder Family Stadium. Another shout-out is deserved to Ty Zentner, who not only made all of his extra points again today, but made some big field goals, including the 53-yarder just before the half. For Zentner, it's a big step, because earlier when he took over the kicking duties, it was assumed that if it was a longer kick, it would be Chris Tennant that got the opportunity, but Zentner proved that he can nail the big ones. He actually made that 53-yarder twice, because there was a timeout called before it as well. So all in all, a good road trip for the Wildcats, their final road game of the season. They now head home for Senior Day, the Sunflower Showdown, and a chance to clinch their spot in the Big 12 Championship to face TCU. 48-31, Cats win in Morgantown. That'll do it for me, Mason Voth from EMAW Online with Rivals.